Hello and welcome to another Substance on Substance. My name is Phil Graham, Head of the Economic Substance Analysis for Harneys in the BVI, and I'm joined today not by Josh Mongeau, our Sultan of Substance, who is halfway up a mountain, I believe, but actually by Ross Munro, who is our Global Head of Harneys Fiduciary, and is here today to talk about the solutions we have available to clients out there. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Phil.
You've heard over the course of the last few weeks, Josh and I repeatedly talking about how classification is the most important thing to be doing right now. I'm not going to necessarily deviate on that point. It absolutely is and should be the focus of everyone right now. But classically, when we've been talking to clients, they very rightly say, well, okay, I've classified now. I have my answer. I am doing a relevant activity. What are the options available to me? And that's a very good answer, and one that we in the law firm are obviously very happy to begin talking to clients with guidance around what might be required, what might be perceived as adequate when someone looks at the legislation and the code once it is published. But fundamentally, they need to look at what solutions are available to them in the jurisdiction, and that's where Ross and his team come in very nicely. Ross, I wanted to sort of begin really by looking at holding business, because it's the classic one that a number of BVI entities are doing. The first question everyone always asks when we talk to them, they've been determined, classified that they are doing holding business. The first question they always ask is my current setup enough? I have a registered agent, I have a registered office, is that all I need? And obviously our answer to that is slightly nuanced, but I'd be grateful if you could sort of give a bit of clarity on what our response is to that, and really then what other solutions we have available for holding business as it's so common out there.
So, Phil, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of holding companies out there in the BVI portfolio. And we're talking to lots of clients at the moment about the economic substance obligations that those holding companies face. The good news is that it doesn't require a fundamental change to the way the business is carried on. It does depend on the nature and scope of the business, but in the vast majority of cases, it is really a matter of record keeping and the reporting after the end of the relevant financial period. So we are now offering a number of different levels of solution, which really depend on the comfort level that clients are seeking and the amount of effort that they want to go into the record keeping themselves. The obligations under the Act are simply that you comply with the statutory obligations applicable to the companies and that you have adequate employees and premises in the BVI. On the first point, our solution is to offer various degrees of health check for the entity to make sure that you're fully compliant. The reporting must be done through the registered agent, which will commence next year. The adequate employees and premises for the vast majority of holding businesses will be satisfied by engagement of the registered agent and the registered office in the BVI. So put all together, that isn't a fundamental change, and in most cases the additional cost will run to a few $100s and not require a major change in the way that the company operates.
That makes a great deal of sense. I mean, a lot of that, frankly, it sounds like good governance. It should be something that BVI companies are doing on a regular basis anyway, working alongside their registered agents. And so exactly as sort of Ross has said, it really shouldn't be a change to the day-to-day practice. It is feasible, for those that have really got into the weeds a little bit on the holding business, it is feasible that you could be doing a little more, you could be more active in how you conduct your holding business, and you might need to actually put a little more in place than just sort of the registered agent and registered office services and everything else that Ross has described. But certainly we very much hope that people are reassured to hear that generally it is absolutely business as usual for that very common relevant activity. There are then obviously the other 8 relevant activities, and I think for the purposes of this podcast, we'll ignore IP for now, as it's a bit of an outlier. But sort of looking at the others, Ross, they clearly will have to potentially put something in place, which is a little more than really just having a registered agent and the record keeping and good governance that you described. In terms of the services that you and your team are offering, could you sort of just run us through some of the things we can do?
Sure, thanks, Phil. The key first step, once you've identified that the entity is carrying on a relevant activity, is to really understand the nature and scope of that relevant activity before determining what substance you need. So we are developing processes to identify the turnover, the extent of the activity, how many people are involved, how frequent the activity is. And in many cases, that will be relatively modest. In others, obviously, a lot more substantial. It really does depend. Having done that, we can then offer a number of different services to fit the circumstances of the entity. So, for example, we will offer directorships to help with the direction and management requirement. We can offer outsourcing services where we can perform the core income generating activity, the administration of the company. We can provide accounting services, record keeping. Some companies will, by virtue of the nature and scope of their activity, feel that they need to have premises, and we have a number of different options available to entities to either share space for board meetings or to have their own dedicated space. And so some companies will be looking to have employees, either bringing in employees from outside, and we can help with immigration and labour concerns, or to employ staff. We can also offer secondment of our own existing staff on a part-time basis, depending on the circumstances. So the key message is that it really does depend on the nature and scope of the relevant activity, but whatever the answer to that is, that there will be options available to provide services to those entities and discharge the obligations.
Fantastic, thank you. I mean, I think it's really important to emphasise that it has been repeatedly said to us by the ITA that what they're not looking to do here is impose additional substance onto a relevant business or on a relevant activity. What they're looking to do is actually get a feel for how that is conducted at the moment. And so whilst you may be doing one of the other relevant activities, it might be that it's very infrequent. It might be that you don't really have an employee to do it currently. You may not have premises to do it currently. You may only do it once every 5 years. And in that case, whilst you may be doing one of those relevant activities, actually the substance requirements that we put upon you will not be particularly onerous at all. And there is a flip side to that. And as I say, Ross and his team are very happy to sort of engage on any type of business that is out there and wants to have a discussion. Thanks for coming in, Ross. Much appreciated. And see you soon.
Thank you.